Star Wars, the franchise that redefined science fiction and made it the go-to escapist genre. As far as sci-fi goes, I adore Star Wars. It's the one about the English guy in the phone box, right? As a viewer of animation, I know full well the original trilogy left a huge impression on the generation that first got to experience it. There are references to it all over the world of animation. From parodies of certain characters to the iconic shots and sequences, it's one of the big boys of pop culture. The legal department won't mind if you create a direct parody of the series, seeing as there's not one, not two, not three, not four, but more than four that do that. I found four. Welcome to the final showdown. As one last dip into the world of pitting similarly themed stories against each other that was big 5 years ago but no one seems to be interested in anymore, the 21st and final episode will pit Star Warners from Pinkie and the Brain, Robot Chicken Star Wars, Blue Harvest from Family Guy, and Phineas and Ferb Star Wars against each other. Only one will reign supreme as the greatest animated tribute to the world of Star Wars, another two won't be far behind, and another one will probably be Robot Chicken. So now, let's go back to a long time ago, 1998. Pinkie and the Brain's Season 4 finale, Star Warners, is much more of an Animaniacs special, taking most of the cast through the story of A New Hope, with references to the rest of the original trilogy here and there. You know what you're getting into quickly when the Good Feathers come out as stormtroopers and reference the then recent and controversial special editions.
What do you expect, Pesto? We blasted them first.
We did not! Bobby, did we blast them first?
A little bit. Yeah, maybe just a little bit.
I mean, it's a one-sided debate that still rages on. Who shot first? Was it this Auton or this Auton? Princess Minnie Mouse implants a message in Brain 2 Me Too, and he and 3PINKio go on a long, often interrupted quest to hijack a signal that's already getting hijacked by Darth Plots. Instead, they get sold by Mindy to Wacko, standing in for Luke Skywalker, who then meets Slappy Squirrel, standing in for Ben Kenobi, to decode Dot's message, and they all travel to the executive scumhole of Mos Eisley to get a pilot, which ends up being Yakko, standing in for Han Solo. They aren't just adding characters to the original story for the sake of it. You'll catch on that they're each given a fair amount of jokes and put their own twists on each character. Pinkie and the Brain are easily the least changed. Sure, they're scaled up so they can properly interact with the others for once, but you aren't watching R2-D2 and C-3PO. You're watching Pinkie and the all-purpose appliance in Star Wars.
Joy! We'll be ruled by a mini-fridge!
I am not a refrigerator.
Oh, then I'd better take out my leftovers before they spoil.
I mean, this is still their show. They shouldn't be changed that much, right? The main story is still about Slappy guiding Wacko to harness his comedic shtick so he can defeat Plots. We head forward one movie to see Skippy is now Yoda for some reason, then another where Yakko confronts Flavio as Jabba the Hutt, and then we go to the climactic confrontation. And instead of using the Force, Wacko resorts to using the Face. He whips out a Gookie so powerful that Plot stops his plan to bore the comedy planet and hijacks Brain's hijacking while he's at it. I'm skipping through a lot of great jokes, but I'm all Animaniacsed out right now. I've just gotten through 10 seasons and a movie of these characters. Love most of them to death, but yeah, this is a fan's paradise. On top of being filled with a bunch of clever callbacks to the entire Spielberg cartoon lineage, Star Warners just has a great spirit of adventure and never fails the Warners mission statement of making the audience laugh.
My brother! My sister! My siblings! My favorite Martian! My friend Flicka! My left foot!
My.
If I had two more serious issues with the story, it would be that we don't see what Rita and Runt would look like in this universe, which is the missed opportunity of the Millennium, and Brain's plan feels more like a subplot than a major factor in the story. Besides that, this was the sort of send-off the franchises needed. For a year before they got a better one. Our second combatant is Robot Chicken Star Wars, specifically the first of the three they made. The seminal Adult Swim series likely made tons of references to the franchise before and after this, but this is a full-on celebration of the franchise, through a bunch of random skits that range from pretty good to pretty half-human attempts at comedy. The first long-form skit doesn't get things off to the right start. Palpatine's incredibly long phone call lacks brevity and a strong punchline. George W. Bush getting Jedi powers also goes on longer than it needed to. I get it, Jedi powers can't bend steel beams. And the Ice Capades parody at the end also didn't have much in the way of laughs. There are other duds here and there, but what were some that I liked? Call it mimetic mutation, but I like Admiral Akbar's cereal commercial. I hope it has a lemon-flavored variant. Then there's Ponda Baba's life getting ruined when Ben cuts his arm off. Pretty mean, but they humanized a character that the movies give almost no attention to.
I'm sorry, but we have to let you go.
Boba Fett flaunting at the frozen Han Solo is pretty funny too, so is Luke and Palpatine getting into a timely Yo Mama battle, an alien making fake copies of the Mona Lisa, and Darth Vader spoiling all the increasingly absurd twists the franchise has to offer to Luke.
And the Force? Well, that's just microscopic bacteria in your bloodstream called midichlorians.
Look, if you're not going to take this seriously, I'm out.
I know what you're asking yourself. George Lucas must have hated how they were making fun of his work, right? Unlikely, because he appears as himself in a skit where he gets nervous at a sci-fi convention.
And I thought they smelled bad on the outside.
It's an alright one, nothing too amazing outside of the cameo, but what is amazing is the all-star cast Seth Green was able to gather. Seth MacFarlane, Hulk Hogan, Malcolm McDowell, and Conan O'Brien are just a few of the most notable performers, but they also got Mark Hamill to reprise his role as Luke Skywalker in each segment he speaks. There's no surprise there, Hamill is well known for his voice acting chops, but you can tell everyone wanted to make a silly little tribute to the franchise. You probably won't like all 35 segments they created or repurposed from older episodes, but you're bound to enjoy a few of them, so don't blink. I'm not doing the other two just to keep the playing field even, and because this is already pushing it by being a series of skits. Sure, some of them have stories, but it's not a long-form narrative, you know? If you wanted an evolved story with no pointless distractions, go to Family Guy. They made their own trilogy of Star Wars parodies around the same time, a 45-minute spoof on each chapter of the original trilogy, beginning with Blue Harvest, the codename for Return of the Jedi. When the Griffin household's power goes out, Peter sets the stage for a trip into the land of fiction. In this retelling, after a credit scroll that consists of a serial killer's ramblings, we get our first money shot. Say what you want about the animation on Family Guy, but the CGI goes hard here. There's a lot of love for the movie's look and sound on screen, with many of the direct tributes being extremely accurate. The story is basically A New Hope, but with Family Guy characters, following it very closely. Quagmire and Cleveland stand in for C-3PO and R2-D2, and besides filling in their usual roles as companions, they'll sometimes throw Quagmire his trademark adult references, and Cleveland his trademark "it's funny because he's black" jokes.
Oh boy. It's okay, R2. Calm down. Be cool. I ain't done nothing to antagonize nobody.
Lois stands in for Princess Leia, and Stewie stands in for Darth Vader, flipping the generations. But what's a little more alarming is Chris standing in for Luke Skywalker.
Funny one.
Every episode so far has poked fun at the creepy Luke x Leia ship everyone originally had, even this one's opening scroll. But this is one very messed up family tree they've just created, and it only gets stranger when Herbert stands in for Ben, and they're no less subtle about his unhealthy love for Chris as in the show.
Imagine you're spreading butter on a big piece of bread. That's it. Spread that butter with the Force.
A lot of your problems with Blue Harvest could come from whatever problems you had with Family Guy's sense of humor, particularly in the early revival era. This was when they were really stretching good taste and how long they could keep a joke going, but overall, I'm very impressed with their take on the Star Wars world with the Funny Moments gang. With some of the more observational gags, it felt like the writers had seen the movie hundreds of times and had these bits in the backs of their minds for years.
Thank you, we're the Cantina Band. If you have any requests, shout them out. Play that same song. All right, same song, here we go.
My favorite moments from Blue Harvest are when they're putting their own twist on a Star Wars moment.
I got him! Great kid, don't get cocky.
I got him!
Right, kid, don't get penisy!
Rather than adding jokes and cutaways that could fit into any other season 5 or 6 episode. For instance, the sofa subplot has a satisfying beginning, middle, and end, but could have been a regular Family Guy gag. Then there's Herbert singing the theme to the Brotown finale, which would be disposable as a regular Family Guy gag. And yes, Peter Griffin is playing the man that stops the monsters, Han Solo. These two are nothing alike, but since this is a more farcical take on the movie, it fits better than you'd expect. He makes the second half of this a lot easier to follow, because he just fits the tone much better. This is gonna sound weird, but the plot takes priority over the gags. I mean, Family Guy is hardly ever totally plot-driven, but that's the case here. They spend more time speeding through the plot of the movie, and the jokes get more hasty. The ending isn't as climactic as in the movie as a result, because it doesn't feel like the Family Guy twist is the #1 priority any longer. Because of the length they were stuck with, there are plenty of scenes they had to gloss over, like the part where they get poisoned on Androzani, or the ceremony at the end. Maybe because they already referenced the Lasher back in Blind Ambition, but a new take on it would have been forgivable, but I guess they had to make room for the Seths to argue about the Robot Chicken special through the characters they voice.
Well, I don't know, Dad. I think a decent number of people watch it.
Oh, really? Define decent.
I think it's the highest rated show on Cartoon Network.
So yeah, this is a pretty good special. They got the feel of the movie down right, with the orchestrated soundtrack to boot. To give my quick thoughts on the sequels, while they had self-admittedly run out of steam by It's a Trap, I think Something 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 Darkside is pretty good too.
I love you.
Fuck off.
Still, without the succeeding specials to fall back on, it's currently a pretty epic battle. I'm having trouble deciding between Star Warners and Blue Harvest. Hopefully Phineas and Ferb can make things easier. One of their corporate synergy specials involved them interacting with the world of Star Wars after Disney's purchase of Lucasfilms. But right from the get-go, they make it very clear it's not supposed to be taken seriously from either angle of the crossover. What they're doing here is following the story of A New Hope beat for beat, but throwing in side plots for the Phineas and Ferb cast, implying they take place entirely off-screen in the original movie. Like, Perry was a secret agent for the Rebels and personally knew Princess Leia, he just had to give her some space while recording her message for Ben. The others' inclusions are just as seamless. Candace, Baljeet, and Buford are stormtroopers, the boys acting as Candace's bumbling sidekicks, while her own authoritative demeanor slips comfortably into the familiar white battle armor.
I was just thinking, we're the good guys, right?
Yes, I believe so.
That's what they told us during the brainwashing.
This is consistently tested until she realizes family's more important than following the rules of a dictatorship. Phineas and Ferb are cordial with Luke Skywalker and largely stand in for him as newbies to the whole rebel thing. And Isabella isn't just a tough nomad akin to Han Solo, but she has some beef with him for beating her in a space race. Isabella has to be my MVP for this one, because they throw her into this oddly hardened role head-on, yet keep her characteristically determined. That, and she closes out the horrifically consistent trend of incest jokes.
We're not related, are we?
Oh, no, not a chance. I only have just the one sister.
Good.
More than usual for Phineas and Ferb, the jokes are a bit on the naughty side. I guess because they knew a ton of adult fans of both franchises would be watching.
Why would anyone want to leave?
Wait till they discover there's no girls on this planet.
Lawrence?
Okay, come on, Non-3PO. Let's go make some Sith happen.
And here we have Dr. Doofenshmirtz failing to be a successful Sith Lord, even claiming Darth Vader plagiarized the Death Star schematics from him, which makes perfect sense considering how it ends up. His bigger contribution to the story is accidentally zapping Ferb with a Sithinator, turning him into the ultimate foe. The battle he has with Phineas is top-notch. As the old saying goes, when Phineas isn't 100% happy, things have gotten serious. I would have preferred if they sent up a battle from the original trilogy, like the classic scene where Luke straps himself into the Pandorica and flies it into the sun to reset the universe, but I still really like it. Since this is the only full HD episode I've got in this showdown, of course you're gonna want the animation to be of a very high quality, and once again, you feel the love for Star Wars coming off the screen. It's not like Blue Harvest where they're invested in emulating the aesthetic, rather they're putting their own Phineas and Ferb spin on it. And you know what Phineas and Ferb has, right? A killer soundtrack! There, I've used all the remaining showdown ribbons. We are never bringing this back. All 5 songs they composed for Phineas and Ferb Star Wars are a delight to listen to, even if you aren't interested in the source material. Tatooine is your typical peppy, optimistic summer song. For Phineas and Ferb to gloat about living on a planet with 2 suns, Sithinator is Doof's chance to whip out yet another Broadway hit about a device that can turn people into Sith Lords, and Vanessa has a few songs as a Twi'lek. I'm just hoping this particular incarnation of the character is older than the original, but I'm feeling Solo is a great mood setter, and Rebel Let's Go is able to excuse the dance party ending. My favorite would have to be In the Empire, Candace's song about how great it is to be a stormtrooper, and why she likes their sense of conformity and authority. If you could find one fault with Phineas and Ferb Star Wars, it would be that none of the major stars of the space opera make cameos. Really, Mark? You can do Robot Chicken but not PNF? I don't really mind the soundalikes they got. Sarah Jane is just as good a casting director as she is a journalist, but at least one major cameo would have made it feel like a more complete celebration that Disney could benefit from, monetarily if anything else. Anyhow, Phineas and Ferb is already timeless children's entertainment, and I'm not hiding my bias for it being the greatest show in the galaxy. As for how I'd rank the rest of them, I'd honestly put Blue Harvest in second place, mainly due to how comprehensive of a spoof it is compared to the others. Star Warner's in third place for being a lot shorter than the others, and Robot Chicken Star Wars would get the participation ribbon if I had any left to hand out. And there we go. That's the final showdown. I've enjoyed making these, but there isn't much I can do to keep the series interesting. That Fantastic Voyage marathon video is the sort of comparison video I want to make more of, so this bumper-length Star Wars showdown can hopefully serve as a bridge between the past and future of this sort of content. That's my new hope at least. May the Force be with you.
Bye bye.